We know the Figge Art Museum has an amazing collection inside its state-of-the-art building in downtown Davenport. But this month and going into next, the art is going to also be outside. It's larger than life, and in some ways, it's out of this world. Laura Adams got a chance to talk with Western Illinois University art professor Bruce Walters.
This project started in many ways when I was 2 years old. My parents took me to a drive-in theater, and they stopped the movie, and everybody got out and looked up, and it was Sputnik. So the whole of my life has been sort of intertwined with NASA. And John Glenn was a hero when I was young. I had a class with James Van Allen, who was, I guess, responsible for sending the first scientific experiment into space. And so when I heard that this exhibition was coming to the Figge, basically I contacted and sort of pleaded if I could have this exhibition. Working with the Figge staff, working with the Figge curators, we worked up the idea of projecting this time on top of the building. And the west side of the building basically is 100 feet across. And so basically, I began to research projectors to find out what brightness I needed, what distance to create an image that large, and then create the content, work with different people. It was a wonderful project to be engaged in, but very, very, very time-consuming. And right now I have 8 videos in the Exploring NASA project. The one that started it was a astrophysicist who teaches at Western Illinois. He's worked with the largest telescopes in the world. And I contacted him, and I worked with his research papers. And from that, and one of the stars, I guess you could say, one of the main images was his blackboard in his office. He had a Einstein-like blackboard, just covered from one end to the other with numbers. And of course, I integrated that as well. And with that, my thought was to put different types of music. With that is more of a classical sort of type of music. It's actually one that I wrote and played the instruments on. But I've enjoyed working with other musicians, working with other artists. Probably the most enjoyable piece to work with is when we contacted the elementary schools. And I worked with Shannon Smith, who teaches at Garwood Elementary, and she said, sure, she'll get her students, to create images of rockets and to create images of astronauts and planets and aliens. And when I came back a few weeks later, she had a stack of 500 works of art, 500. And in the interim, Steve Couch was gathering images, and the Figge was gathering images as well. So we had more than 1,000 works of artworks by children from kindergarten through 5th grade. And we integrated those into, I wouldn't say a story so much, but like as a narrative, a progression. And it was so fun to see the children's work, to work with the teachers, to work with Steve. That was in itself almost worth the whole project.
Gonna take me a rocket ship. Gonna take me a rocket ship. I'm gonna see Mars, see the moon and the stars. Gonna take me
in the lobby, there are a continued loop of these 8 videos with a soundtrack, and on selective nights when there's events downtown, and I think there's 8 events yet before the exhibition closes, that will be showing at the top of the building, and I'm gesturing to the top of the building, and that projection runs from sundown until nearly midnight. My thought is for this to run for several years. One of the contributors to the project was Brian May, the guitarist for Queen, who remarkably is an astrophysicist. And I contacted him, and he said with his blessings, he would be glad to let me use We Will Rock You. So I have 4 years to use that in different museums and libraries, and I'm going to take full advantage of it For myself, in terms of artwork, I want to continue to collaborate. It's been a very rewarding experience. I'm certainly going to continue to work with the Halloween Flight Project. That's simultaneously in several exhibitions right now. October is a busy time. September and October is a busy time for that exhibit. And my thought is to continue to add to it, to work with a whole range of media to make it more interactive. I want to certainly continue with exploring NASA. And in the interim, I'm sure there's other interests that'll sort of come up that I simply will need to interact with.
Thanks, Laura. Earlier in this program, you heard from the two candidates running for the 72nd District of the Illinois House, Democrat Pat Verschuer and Republican Neil Anderson. In the weeks ahead, you'll also hear from the other candidates running for state office in Iowa and Illinois and the two congressional districts serving the Quad Cities. We hope you'll tune in. Our next show features Republican candidate for Iowa's 2nd Congressional District, John Archer. Our mission on WQPT is to educate, enlighten, and entertain. It's a high standard and one we take seriously. It's also something we hope to achieve each week on The Cities.